I call this meeting of the City Senate to order at 5:01 p.m. Letter B, roll call. Executive Assistant Zemer.
President Steenberg.
Here.
Vice President Eakley. Here. Trustee Amrad.
Here.
Treasurer Tete.
Excused. Sorry.
Allocations Chair Stutz.
Excused.
Public Relations Representative Webster. Here. Senator Pelkey.
Here.
Senator Almy.
Excused.
Senator Geiger.
Here.
Senator Weber. Here. Senator Spalding. Here. Senator Wen. Here. Senator Flores. Here. Senator Thomas.
Excused.
Senator Weir.
Unexcused.
Senator Robinson.
Here.
Senator Simonette.
Here.
Advisor Kleist. Here. Advisor Terha. Here. And Senator Monderas.
Here.
Moving on to letter C, opening reflection. Senator Simonette.
Good evening, ladies. I hope everyone's doing well. I would like to speak about a session that I went to at the COP23 conference. It was called Changing Hearts and Minds, and it really talked about the importance of having peace within. That when we have true inner peace, we can bring that to the world, and that is slowly how we can deal with the problems. I know that right now it's a very stressful time with finals and with all the papers that we are writing. So I think it's really important that we maintain why we are doing everything that we are doing and really look at our education as an opportunity and to see that we are learning about the world and that through our education we also have the opportunity to change the world. And this is one of the poems that I really like, so I'd like to read it to you. It is called Everything is Waiting for You. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you, at times, have felt the grand array, the swelling presence and the chorus, crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants your freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and to invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and see the good in you at last. All the birds and the creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. So on this sheet of paper that I passed around, I would like everybody to write a vision for themselves, a vision of who they want to be in the world, and then a vision for the future of a world, if it's a world without racism, without sexism, without all the barriers that divide us, or whatever you'd like to write, because during that session, we are also talking about how we always see visions of the world where climate change is not dealt with or where the future is just really a horrible place to live. But I think we really need to maintain the visions of a peaceful world and to have peace within ourselves, and that we need to hold on to this even when times get tough, and to realize that all the opportunities we have each day will enable us to create this vision. I return my time.
Do you want us to take a few minutes to do that now?
Yes, please. I hope you all will continue to write and to think about this question. Now we can return to the rest of the meeting. With that, I return my time.
Thank you, Senator Simonet. Moving on to letter D, approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's been a motion by Senator Robinson and a second by PR Representative Webster. Are there any changes to last week's minutes? Seeing none, you'll move to vote. All those in favor of approving last week's minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes stand approved. Moving on to letter E, approval of the agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion by Vice President Weekly and a second by Senator Spalding. Are there any changes to today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of approving today's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda stands approved. Moving on to Roman numeral 2, guests, letter A, Glenn Werner.
Good evening. Thank you for having us today. It's always a pleasure to visit you guys and be in front of such an impressive group as yourselves. We want to kind of share some exciting news. We're to dance around up here. So Tammy's going to bring up our PowerPoint, but wanted to just reintroduce myself, Glenn Werner, Athletic Director here at St. Ben's in my third year. I'm a 1993 graduate, a Blazer and a Benny, and that's what we're going to talk to you about today. So there's been lots of information on our campuses over time, but I think what we're going to share with you is kind of an exciting evolution and how athletics fits into the greater cause of the institution of the College of St. Benedict. So what we'd like to do is kind of brief you on the rebrand that we've been underway since I arrived this summer of 2015. It's really starting to take shape, especially around campus and on social media. If you paid attention to the build at the outdoor fields, the first evolution of that brand was the installation of that giant scoreboard right out poor Dr. Hinton's bathroom window in the morning that said St. Shield Benedict. That was the first kind of real-life illustration of what this brand has become over time. And we'd really like to provide some accuracy around the evolution from Blazers to Bennies and give you some specifics around our rollout communication plan, but most of all is looking to your leadership to help us lead this exciting change for the college. With that said, all of our work has been grounded in SD 2020, much like my colleagues in student development and my colleagues around the campus, as well as a lot of your work on behalf of President Hinton. So where we really believe this falls most definitely is under the holistic and transformational development of women, as well as inclusive and engaging Catholic Benedictine experience. Now, it's not that it ignores the other areas, but this is where it really resonates for all of us. So what I wanted to share with you is, it's just no secret, and I was a first year on this campus 29 years ago, and I would tell you that my experience as a rowing athlete and as a basketball player here shaped my future in business. So rare is it that I'm in a room of women. In my career in the Olympics, going to 6 Olympic Games, I was only in a room of men. When I'm building the outdoor fields, I'm very often the only person in a room of architects, engineers, designers, plumbers, masoners. So this is always a pleasure for me to get to work with colleagues like you, but I will tell you that the research shown, especially focused by ESPNW and Ernst & Young, they've done study after study that proves the theory that women in business tend to have been athletes. It's not to say that other endeavors aren't equally transformational to your development, but that the experience we're showing is if you take 800 executives around the country, PepsiCo, Sunoco Inc., Hewlett-Packard, most of those women played collegiate sports. It's what was required of them to move on, to break glass ceilings, and to be amongst peers who are male. And I joked with Tammy as we started tonight that I have pieces of my personality that could be labeled as aggressive, competitive, and tough, but that has been my experience on the chain of success as I left as a social work student, moving on to a graduate degree, and then heading into sport business. That's what the skills I learned on the field. But what they highlight most of all is what make most business leaders who are female successful is our experience in losing, not winning. So what they categorize so carefully in Claire Shipman's book, The Confidence Code, is that Women who win, that's great skill, right? We love to win. But women who lose learn how to lose in business, recover, form teams, and put the we before the me in their business life. So that's why we feel the focus on athletics here in St. Ben's is very well placed in the greater good of the institution, and that we really are, through our 10 sport teams, training women to be prepared to compete in the business world. Lastly, I am going to read you a slide, and the first time I read it, I got all tearful and choked up, but I'm better trained now to get through what I feel as a former Blazer and a forever Benny, why this evolution is going to be just fine for all of us and why we really can invest in this change together. When Title IX came into law in 1972, much of women's athletics at CSB and across the nation was uncharted territory. Intercollegiate teams began to take shape: volleyball, basketball, swimming and diving, tennis, and softball. College athletics for women was new, exciting, and a little unfamiliar. To build those teams and let the world know that the College of St. Benedict was here to play, we needed courageous, strong, and bold pioneers. We needed women who would lead the way, called trailblazers. So 4 years ago, the Blazers came to be. They have represented us well and proudly, and they are our champions. Today, the number of women participating in college athletics has risen by 600%. A generation of girls has grown to become women, knowing that the fields of competition are open to them. Their rights and opportunities to play are no longer in question. Trails have already been blazed. Today, we need leaders and role models to inspire and encourage women to engage and to be active at the level that's right for them, varsity, club, or intramural. We need women to let their light shine and illuminate the trails that the Blazers have made. We need Bennies.
All right, thank you, Glenn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tammy Moore. I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for St. Ben's and St. John's. Thank you again for letting Glenn and I be here tonight. I want to just check in with Mary Catherine. How much time do we have?
Usually about 15 minutes
15
for
minutes,
special
okay.
guests, but if you need to go over that.
Okay, you just give us a nod when we're close to time. If we have time, we'll definitely take questions and open it up at the end. So, how do you build a brand? So as Glenn talked about and touched on, you start with the highest point in the institution, and that's the mission and vision and strategic plan of the institution. And SD 2020, as Glenn described earlier, has some really important components that were considered when we started to do this brand work. You can go ahead and advance, Glenn. I'll give you a signal. When Glenn and I first started talking about this transition from Blazers to Benny about 2 years ago, there were two really key points that bubbled to the surface in our conversations that we wanted to really work with. One was to create a brand that tied more closely to the brand of the institution. So if you look at these photographs, and we keep these really at the center of our work, these are the finish line photos, and you can see where Gustavus is called out, St. Olaf is called out, St. Thomas, and then you have Blazers in the middle. And Blazers was just not getting the recognition and tying back to the College of St. Benedict brand, and we were losing some really key opportunities on a really high level, not only in our community, within our region, but on a national level. And so we really saw that as a very key and important opportunity. The other important element that we raised when we started to do this work was around consistency. You really have to make sure when you're building a brand that it's represented consistently in the look, in the verbiage that we use, how we talk about ourselves, in the signage. So everything from the print materials to the uniforms, we knew needed to be consistent and really needed to stay true to the College of St. Benedict. And just taking that brand perspective a bit further, we identified some key marketing and communications objectives. So we really saw an opportunity, also in light of SD 2020, but also to build upon the student athlete and recruitment and retention process. We have a great opportunity here for women of all experiences and levels. You can play intramural sports, extracurriculars, we have great varsity teams, and that was really an opportunity for us as an institution to touch on some of those really key components that Glenn mentioned earlier in terms of leadership development also. We had an opportunity to build excitement and opportunities with potential and current donors. We have people who are investing in St. Ben's specifically for athletics. You're seeing the new facilities. All of that is made possible because people want to invest in College of St. Benedict. We also saw an opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, to strengthen and broaden the overall image of St. Ben. So when the dance team is going to nationals or the volleyball team is doing an outstanding job, all of that is under the guise of the College of St. Benedict. And lastly, this is an opportunity to create excitement and engage the campus community, alums, donors, and friends, and really to cause attention and turn people's heads to all of the great things that are happening here at St. Ben's. And so we started to get to the practical pieces, some of the graphics. I always want people to note that a brand is beyond a logo. A brand is really about the experience. So how you describe the College of St. Benedict, that's the heart of our brand. The experience that Glenn described earlier about being on the rowing team and being a basketball player, that's her brand experience. But there are also those visual components that we know and see as consumers every day that relate back to those visual pieces. And so we really paid great attention to the visual pieces when we had these conversations. And Glenn and I collected feedback from a lot of different people about the brand. We talked with current athletes, alums, donors, community members, people who were administrators, former administrators, and a couple of key pieces sort of bubbled to the surface in those conversations. And one was the shield. The shield from the College of St. Benedict institutional logo was really resonating quite strongly with people. They felt it emulates strength and was really recognizable. So we landed, what you're seeing on the screen here is what we call the primary logo for athletics. So the St. Shield Benedict is what will be used consistently throughout signage. It's on the Claire Lynch floor, it's in the field house, and this is the primary and preferred logo for athletics. The next couple of slides are just some really fun examples. I'm sure that all of you have seen this brand start to come to life across the campuses. So we've got the new soccer field, the scoreboards, which are just larger than life, and this is a rendering of the Claire Lynch floor, the shield in the middle. This is the Wall of Fame in Claire Lynch. If you haven't seen this, I encourage you to take a close-up look of this. It just really is stunning and brings together some really key components of the brand. Again, that primary logo with the shield at the center, and then also highlighting all of the varsity athletics. Just some really simple ways that you'll see the brand emulated. Again, this is a demonstration of that consistency that we talked about. Just making sure that we never waver from this brand, whether it's on a t-shirt or a chair that's on the court. People will start to recognize, and it will start to create that mental recognition and tie again back to the College of St. Benedict. These are some wearable items. The hat on the left is available for sale in the bookstore, and on the right are examples of some of the dance team apparel. And one of the things I like to point out is whether it's varsity athletics or intramurals or extracurriculars, the branding is the same across the board. And so, again, when the dance team goes to nationals, we want them to represent the College of St. Benedict. They are representing the College of St. Benedict, so we shouldn't waver on the look and how we refer to ourselves and what people call us. This is an example of a printed schedule, so you can see really how, again, this is coming to life and translates really well into print pieces as well. These are some social media pieces. If you follow any of the Blazer or Betty athletes, you'll see these on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And this is an app. Glenn, do you want to touch on Nation?
I do. It took
How we're using this?
get really close to me. It took some special approval to launch an app because I think the college is exploring the use of apps as a general practice. We were able to roll out, and with a sponsor, they not only paid for the app for us, but they gave us 2 free plane tickets to give away at the end of the season. And we use it and do geofencing. So if you come to the game and you're within a certain radius of Claire Lynch, like in Claire Lynch, not at McGlynn's, and you check in each quarter or each half, you'll get a reminder from the announcer. You earn points towards that trip. And what it's been great with is we can turn almost anything into an event. We're going to have a speaker Sunday night at 7 o'clock at Gretzky. Willow Sweeney who is a renowned athletic speaker on team building and visualization. So we'll make that an event. People can check in for points. And this is the first time Benny will be associated with athletics this year. So it's the first leap we've made. And when we started to brainstorm changing Blazer Open and all of the different legal names that are associated with us, whether it's a fundraising arm or an event or Blazers, Benny Nation felt great. Now I know everyone uses that. I taught at Alabama for 10 years, and Saban Nation after Coach Nick Saban was a big deal, right? But for the first time I said Benny Nation, I couldn't wait to decide with our team, what are we gonna apply that to? And this app was the perfect thing to get excited about. When Mary Geller has that little giddy thing that she does when she gets excited around Benny Nation, and that's where it started to really come home to me when I wore the Blazer uniform for a long time. So this is an exciting thing for us to try and really be high-techy, but it's also a way for us to dabble with Benny when, if you dial into a game at St. Thomas, they've been calling us Bennies for years. It's just now we're gonna start calling ourselves that in athletics. Got a little excited there.
So as you can imagine, Glenn and I just spoke to this process really starting over 2 years ago. There are thousands and thousands of steps in the process of updating a brand, building a brand, announcing, inviting the community to be a part of it and celebrating with us. And so part of that process is we brought together a cross-functional team internally representing everyone from admissions, student development, athletics, my Office of Marketing and Communications, and we've created a cross-functional team really to uncover all the areas within our campus communities who need to understand and be brought into the process. We ask for their input, we ask about their relationship currently with athletics, and they're helping us forge this new path. And so that's why one of the reasons why we're here tonight is to ask for all of your help in this process as well. And so we put together just a quick FAQ, but before we get to this, I'd like to just open it up to the questions that you might have, and we might cover some of these items along the way. Are there any particular questions that you have for Glenn or I?
Are there any questions for our guests today? Senator Pelkey.
Hi, thank you guys for coming and doing this presentation. So I was working with Marcia Mong earlier this semester about trying to figure out ways to communicate this better to club sport and intercollegiate athletes, because talking with a lot of intercollegiate athletes and club athletes, some people are kind of upset about some of the changes that have happened, but having it explained like this is, I think, a really nice way of clearing up confusions and really showing the meaning behind the transition. So I was wondering, I can see one of the questions up there kind of reflects what I'm going to ask. What steps will you guys be taking to better communicate this to the student body, this whole meaning of the process and reasons behind it, those kind of things.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great and robust question. There's lots of components to that. So this is a process, and we have a really robust communication plan and rollout for this, and we are in fairly early stages of applying the rollout plan. And so what Glenn and I are working on right now is working with coming and presenting, just like we are tonight with this group, to the key areas within our campus communities. And so we've got meetings planned with institutional advancement and many of the administrative areas, and we'll also be doing some of the same presentation to student groups. As part of the communications plan and rollout, we have a variety of different communication mechanisms, everything from social media to email to the website and such, and we really want to make sure that this is rolled out in a very thoughtful and cohesive way. And I'll ask Glenn if you have anything else specifically to add to that.
I would add that in a room like this, where it's maybe an alumni board, where it's a collection of Bennies, Blazers, competitive, non-competitive club, whatever your thing was, or both. A lot of people did all of the above during their time at St. Ben's. Where it's volatile, or not necessarily volatile, or dissenting, they've been very high-quality conversations for someone to be able to say, I strongly disagree with this path. I think this is a huge mistake to go away from Blazers. I absolutely respect that. I have teammates that think that this is the silliest thing we'll ever consider. And I have other folks that say, you know, I get that you're 250 exclusive women each year, but you're also Bennies. And there's not better or worse, we're just sisters. So it's really been nice to take all those dissenting opinions and honor them and welcome them. They've been very respectful conversations, but I am very robustly disagreed with on a regular basis with this project, and it's been okay. Because to say ultimately we're going to be like our brotherhood up the road and be a group of Johnnies, we're going to be a group of Bennies, and there's just not a thing wrong with that. So I get to take in their opinions and not necessarily disrespect them, but to say I do hear you, and this will be a hard change.
I would also add that with any initiative this size, there is a transition period, and excuse me, and we are in that transition period, and so we have to be good stewards of the resources of the college, and so there are some very practical pieces that we have to consider. We had an opportunity, and the timing was right, to update the Claire Lynch floor, for example. We didn't immediately put and decide the graphics on the Claire Lynch floor. We actually backed off on that process, and we took a little longer to finish the floor so that we could go through the branding discussion and be really clear about what we wanted to put on that floor and what we wanted to invest, because we're not updating that floor again for a very long time. And so we wanted to make sure that we really got it right. Many of you probably saw the Our View in the Record last week, and the piece that struck me from that, and I'd love to hear your input and reactions to that, was that maybe there's something that we're hiding from students. And there's certainly, I can assure you, there's nothing that is being hidden from students. It's a transitional process, and we're doing the best that we can to really meet with the groups in a timely manner and to make sure that people have the space like this to ask questions and engage in conversation before something is really rolled out in a very massive way.
Vice President Woodley.
Thank you guys for coming in and explaining all this cool stuff. I know this is more of a kind of looking forward into the future Benny's plan, but what effect is this having on our current students that you guys have noticed? I know that it's maybe tough for them to actually be on the team while they're going through the transitional period. I'm just curious as to what kind of effect it's had on the current athletes.
I think it would be mixed, probably split right down the middle of, that's fine, because I identify as both. You would have current student athletes, much like alum. I think we were thinking our alum are really going to have more of the issue here. You know what, our current first years are as much of a Blazer as I am 25 years later. So I think I admire how quickly we all become, we bleed red. When you see the scripted CSB, that's a senator. You're an elected official, and that's something incredibly special as your leadership journey begins. So I have to honor that they have drunk the Kool-Aid. They are part of us. So their reactions I honor just as much as an alum, a donor, a board member. So they are strong in some respects. But I think when you really talk about the inclusive nature of why with such a small campus would we divide ourselves and exclude ourselves, even though sometimes you see intercollegiate athletics as an earned spot, but club is just as much earned. You put just as much time and attention into that competitive atmosphere. So it's honoring the opinions and making the transition as transparent as possible, despite not knowing where we were going to end up. So now that we're here, we're sharing this story, and it's going relatively well, and having open doors where people are allowed to come in and disagree, that's a cool environment to create.
Are there any, Senator Weber?
I just want to thank you again for coming in and sharing the story. I just think that it's like how you told us the story of the Trailblazers and the Blazers and now the Bennies. I think it's like an evolution of sorts. Like the fact that we couldn't just start as Bennies because we had to trailblaze and we had to get there, and now it's a strive for equality. And I think that story is really powerful. And I think that I hope that that's, you know, when we're doing all this rebranding and like showing this, that we continue to tell that story, because I think it's a really huge reflection on our institution as a whole, because we're only like 100 so years old, you know, and we're able to do this, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah.
Thank you. We're making history. You know, we really are. This is the perfect time at the College of St. Benedict to do this work. We have opportunities like never before. We have the Blazers who came before us and did some amazing things and built a program that is like none other. And we have investors and donors and alums who are behind us and current students. And it's really the perfect combination to do this and to evolve this. And as Glenn said earlier, this is about inclusion. And when we tell that story about inclusion and we are all Bennies and we are all one team, it's really hard to argue about that. So that's really, stayed true to the heart of this initiative.
Vice President Weekly.
Kind of going off of Senator Weber's point, I think that the story that kind of captivated all of us is where you guys should start. I think that the end of the presentation is where it started with the rest of the students, and that's kind of like going off of Senator Pelkey's point. That's why everyone was confused, and maybe there were like some dissenting opinions and some confusion. I think that like going forward, the story of the evolution of all of the branding and everything should be where you guys kind of keep your main focus. Because not a lot of people get to sit and have conversations like this and get to hear the information that we do, and we can do our best to kind of spread the word, but it's also one of those things that I think that a lot of people would love to hear that story, because I think we can all agree that we like to hear it, so.
Thank you. It's great feedback.
Senator Flores.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the story too. I'm a first year, so I don't really know much about like the history of that and everything. So that was really interesting. I definitely agree with the confusion. I know we actually talked about it in my FYS class because we have a lot of student athletes, and some people, like a lot of the student athletes, weren't sure how to explain it. So I think I don't know if you guys have any way of getting it just to like the general first years and stuff in general, because a lot of us don't really know much about it. Like athletes know more, but they weren't really able to. Everyone's like, oh, why is it changing? No one knew what to call it. So I don't know if you have any suggestions on like how maybe I can help with that, or like being able to get it more well known with just people who aren't familiar with the whole brand, and especially with first years, how like we were Blazers and now we're Bennies. So.
Great, thank you for that feedback. We'll think of ways that we can maybe provide some really specific tools to have those conversations. So maybe to coaches and other, not only athletic staff, but for all of us really to equip ourselves with that. So thank you for that suggestion.
Are there any other questions for our guests today? Seeing none. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to Roman numeral 2, letter B, David Pearson.
Hello, St. Ben's Senate. Great to see all of you here today. For those of you who don't know, I also work in the Experience and Professional Development Office, formerly known as Career Services. I apologize for the mug. I have a nasty cough, so got some water going today. Anyways, the purpose of my visit to this Senate today would be that my office would like to request funding to get buses down to the Securian Alumni Networking event, as well as the Minnesota Private College Job and Internship Fair. The dates for those events would be, the Securian event would be February 26th, and the fair would be February 27th. I would like to, as you can see based on the handout I hopefully put in front of all of you, the busing to Securian would be the total there, the big number. And then I would also like to get 2 buses to the fair. I understand that it's not like a set fixed cost per bus. I don't know why that's not that way, but that's just the invoice we got from Voight Busing Service, who did this for us last year. For those who weren't here last year, I believe there was some sort of Senate funding for busing students down to the event. Just to kind of go over the rationale for why this is necessary. Just to start with, it's once again, we're out here in the fairs down in the cities. How do we get people without cars down there? So as someone who didn't have a car for my first couple of years, I remember having a bummer ride with a friend, and it's possible but at the same time, it's another barrier that could prevent students from going on this excellent opportunity. But even for those students who do have a car and would be able to drive down, it's $15 to do the fare anyways. So on top of then spending money on gas, parking, food, it's a full day event. All of a sudden, those are just additional barriers that could possibly prevent students from enjoying this wonderful event and just kind of trying to get that next step in life. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'd just like to point out that 17% of the Bennies who went to the security and networking event last year took the bus that was offered, as well as 22% of the Bennies who attended the fair used the bus offered through career services. Last year we did do we'll take $5 and then when you show up we'll give you your $5 back. We would prefer not to do that this year. Just exchanging money is risky and it's quite frankly just a hassle I'd prefer not to have to deal with on a daily basis. In addition to that, I asked for $1,107.38 from the St. John Senate yesterday. I'm asking the same from you all. The reason why I'm trying to do this 50-50 would be simply the logistics of having to get a head count of everyone who wants to go on the bus and then retroactively come in to ask for funds. Although I understand that that could be a possibility. Number one, just maintaining the logistics of that from the side of my office, quite frankly, is not fun. And on top of that, I don't want to promise people a spot on a bus when I don't actually have the funds for it. My office simply can't cover the full cost of the bus or anything like that, so I don't want to promise anyone something I can't guarantee. So with that, that kind of concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions for our guests today? Trustee Angarag.
Thank you so much for coming. I just have a really quick question. How was it paid last year for the busing? Where it says the CSB numbers. So was there a busing last year? And if
There was busing last year. I know for sure St. John's put some money towards it. I'm not sure what you all did. But I do know that last year Bennies did hop on the bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I return my time.
Senator Robinson.
So I'm a little concerned about the $15 for the fare as well as you thinking that it's not a good idea to get students to deposit back. We do have a lot of low income students who are going to be the ones probably utilizing this bus service. Is there anything that XPD is going to do for students that wouldn't be able to pay that $15 for the fare?
Yep, so and that's actually one of the reasons why as a department we're trying to save our budget as much as possible, and that's why we're trying to avoid from having to chip in too much for any busing costs to get students down there. Is normally on a case-by-case basis, my supervisors will work with students in low-income situations to try to find a way to get them the $15 to get to the fair. So. Yeah.
Senator Simonette.
Thank you for joining today. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more, elaborate on the events for my first question. My second question is it's just a lot of money, so I'm wondering what other departments you've looked at for funding, or XPD can only ask the Senate, or just, how else you've tried to minimize the cost for the Senate. Okay,
yeah, certainly. So basically the security and networking event would be an event where it's a bunch of Johnny Benny alumni who all meet up at security and headquarters, which I don't know where it is. Apologize for not knowing that. It's St. Paul. Okay, everyone meets at security and it's a great time to basically meet with alum, network, kind of gain connections and build that professional network that you're going to want for that next stage in life. The fair is an event where it's basically going to be 250 plus companies. I would say 70% of them are private corporations, but then it's also a fair number of nonprofit and volunteer opportunities. Additionally, it is a job fair, but there are also, I would say, a fair number of internships available for students as well. So that kind of covers the logistics there, I hope. The budget question, that was the other one, right? Yeah, so for the budget one, basically, our option is either pass busing costs back on to students, or our other option would be to take away from that kind of reserve fund to help pay that $15. for people who might not be able to. So that's kind of where we're at. Being a school department, I don't know if faculty advisor Claes could talk to this or speak to this, but normally departments can't go ask the president's office for funds. I don't think my boss would be very happy with me if I did that, so yeah, that's true. I hope I answered your question well though.
Senator Pelkey.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit as to why 2 buses is necessary when only 28 bennies used the bus last year. Is
Yep.
that correct?
Yeah, only 28 bennies did use the bus last year. However, and this is where I'm kind of getting caught in the middle here, to be totally honest. Where I was told that both buses last year were full. We had 48 Johnnies use the bus to the fair last year, but even when you do 48 plus 28, you're above whatever the number of people who can get on a bus is. So I'm kind of questioning the accuracy of my numbers just a tad bit. But I do know that both buses are full, and quite frankly, when I saw that, less bennies than Johnnies got on the bus last year to the fair, I was surprised, because for every other thing my office does, bennies are like twice as many as Johnnies. Like if you want to talk practice interviews for study abroad, we'll get like 20, the St. Ben's office gets like 60. So I'm not sure if there was just a discrepancy in how we talked about busing to the fair during the info sessions here on the St. Ben's campus, but yeah.
Thank you. My turn.
I don't know.
Trustee Andrak.
My first option is just a clarification question. There are options for low-income students who can't pay the $15 if they were to come in.
So the way it has been explained to me through my supervisors would be just to go into kind of the process of registering for the fair as an aggregate. You have to go to an info session. After that, they want you to meet with one of the professional career counselor people. And then after that, you can go. So it's normally during that one-on-one sit-down is when that issue, or that topic comes up. And then we do our best to accommodate to the best of our services. But it's not something that we actively say, because otherwise you have situations where people try to take advantage of the program. So.
Okay. And then my second question is, it might be a little complicated, but
Okay. Should I take notes or?
no. You're coming here as a student. This is a student-driven initiative, but XPD is putting on the event. So because you work for the office, you saw a problem and you were like, okay, let's come. Is that how it's working, or is this? I don't know. That's a silly question, but.
Great. You have something?
Do you want to go ahead and respond?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I saw last year the St. John Senate did busing. I thought, you know what? It's a great concept. It's a great idea to be able to have this opportunity accessible to students. I feel like this is something that Senate should have a part in. I mean, if we're willing to help bus students to a train station to get to a football game, I hope we can care that much about their professional future as well.
So just to clarify though, I think that the question was, is this an XPD initiative or a student initiative?
Both. I mean, I talked to my boss and was like, yeah, I can talk to Senate. I think it'd help. So.
Senator Robinson.
So I don't know if you have all the numbers for this, but do you have the overall logistics of how many bennies compared to Johnnies actually show up to this event, whether they take the bus or not?
I can tell you that we had, actually, yeah, so we had 126 total students go to the Skirian event, and we had 347 total students go to the job fair.
301, sorry.
347. Sorry, drew on myself.
And then going back to Trustee Ongran's point, when you were mentioning that they had to go to all of these different meetings, is that everyone who signs up to go to the fair, or just those who need to go for financial reasons?
No, that's like, in order to register for the fair, you have to go to one of these info sessions, And I believe we sent out an email today saying that you also have to meet with a professional career counselor. Just to make sure that your materials are ready, so when you get there, you're more likely to be successful.
Senator Gregor. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. I like the polo this time, not the.
Yeah, that's a mistake yesterday.
So my question is, has your department received any like quotes from other companies, or is there any way that the quote, like I know you said it's not a fixed cost and it's difficult for a variety of reasons, but is there any way like the cost could be reduced? Like if you're taking coach buses, could you take school buses, take more students? Like has that aspect been considered at all?
That aspect has
Rather than just mirroring last year's.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Void is kind of the standard, like unless you're doing kind of like one of the small vans from the university, I feel like Void is the preferred kind of busser for the school. So that's at least what got passed down to me.
Okay, great, thank
Yeah.
you. I return my time. Are there any other questions for David today? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to letter C, open forum. Are there any guests wishing to address the Senate today? Let's take this time to have our new senators maybe introduce yourselves a little, tell us who you are, what position you're going to be taking on the Senate next semester, maybe what you're studying, anything that you really feel like sharing. So, start off here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanisha Demarid. I am a sophomore here at University of Benedict. My major is biology, pre-med, and a minor in communication. And this upcoming spring semester, I will be sitting in as senator for the student activities representative.
Great, thank you.
Hello, my name is Emily Kang. I'm currently a first year student. I'm undecided as a major as of now, but this upcoming spring semester I'll be taking this as club auditor.
Thank you, that was perfect.
Good evening. My name is Kistasia Thompson. I'm a bio major, psychology minor, pre-med track. I'm a sophomore, and next semester I'll be sitting for the position of community rep.
Thank you. We'll just roll around. Are there any other guests wishing to address the Senate today? Seeing none, we'll move on to Roman numeral 3, board reports. Letter A, President's report. Without objection, the chair will now pass. All right. Hello, ladies. Hello, sorry, I needed to gather my thoughts for a minute there. First of all, I do just want to welcome again the new senators. We're really excited to have you here, even though it is a slightly bittersweet meeting as well, as we have several senators who are also leaving us as well. So I really just want to specially recognize the women at the table who served us so well this semester and will be with us next semester. So first of all, Advisor Kleist is going on sabbatical next semester, and so we would are very sad to have her leave us, of course. We also have Brianna studying abroad, Zelda, who's coming, who's student teaching next semester, and Sella, Donica, and Cassidy, who are all studying abroad. So I just want to say a special thank you to all of you for your service this semester and the value that you have brought to all of us through your hard work and your passion and your engagement with the Senate. So just a special note about that. You'll also notice that you all do have flowers today. This is just a small gift from the executive board to thank you all for a great semester. We're really proud of the work that you've done and all of the time and energy, blood, sweat, tears that you've put into your roles on Senate. So hopefully they'll live just long enough to when you leave for break. So you can put that in your room. A couple of business things now. Chairwoman Stokes sent out a form for the Chipotle order. There have been a couple different iterations of that. The newest one is a spreadsheet. Put your information in the spreadsheet and we will get that all ordered and get that in Thursday by 8. Today's Tuesday, Thursday by 8. Also, hopefully on Canvas, you noticed I have put in an assignment for the end of the year report that I talked about last time. There are several questions on there. I know that it's a lot. And so the deadline for that is study day at midnight, which is December 15th, next Wednesday. However, so I'm going to let you, if you cannot make that deadline work, which is completely understandable, it's final season, talk to me, we can work together to set a different deadline that works for you. That deadline that we set together will be strictly enforced. If you do not meet that deadline that we set together, you will lose speaking rights at our first meeting next semester. And if you don't work with me to set a new date and you don't turn it in by study day, you will also lose speaking rights. So just make sure that if that really doesn't work for you, just talk to me. Totally willing to hear a reasonable new date. But we do want to make, those are going to be really important for us. And I'll be doing a president's report at our first meeting next semester, talking about what the Senate as a whole has accomplished thus far, and so I'll use a lot of the material from your reports. Also, transition notes for those who are leaving us are due on Friday, so that you can meet with our lovely new senators and talk about their responsibilities. We have pizza with the President and the Cabinet on this Monday, December 11th at 5 p.m. At the Renner House. Wear your Senate blouses again. If you won't be here next semester, please also bring a shirt to change into or something so that we can get that blouse back from you and get them washed and ready to go to our new senators. In addition, I talked to President Hinton today. She's graciously invited the new senators as well if you would like to come and if you're available. So December 11th at 5 p.m. at the Renner House. We just had pizza with President Hinton and the members of her cabinet. It's a really great event every year. So just know that you're invited. Also, we currently do not have quorum. Hopefully Senator Weir is on her way, and once she gets here we will have quorum, even if she abstains. However, if she's not here in time for the vote, we will have to motion to table the funding request. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. In addition, hopefully you saw my message today in the Slack about the event in Minneapolis. The gift wrapping with the alumni board. It's a really great networking opportunity, really great event that they're putting on. And that's December 16th from 2 to 4, so it's kind of over break. So if you are available, please let me know. They want to get an estimate on the number of senators who will be able to be there. So please try to get that information to me ASAP. And that is all that I have, so I return my time.
Are there any questions for President Steenbridge today? Senator Greiger.
So I guess my question originally was going to be for Jody, but because she's not here, I'm wondering if you know the status of the questions from the joint meeting. There's the Student Alcohol Task Force meets on Thursday, so it'd be really nice to have those answers.
Yeah, I can touch base with her again and see where she's at on that.
Great.
Yeah, I know that her and Mike have been trying to fill them out, but a lot doesn't come out.
Okay,
But I'll try to make sure
yeah,
she's
that
working
was-
on that.
Okay, I return my time.
Senator Webster.
This isn't really a question, but since we're talking about pizza with the president, just a reminder to bring for the senators leaving, to bring your padfolios and blouses.
Are there any other questions for President Steenbridge today? Seeing none, the chair will pass back.
I accept. Moving on to letter B, advisor's report, Advisor Price.
Greetings, everyone. I will miss you next semester, so I'm a bit sad, but I will be on campus off and on, so I might just drop in sometime to see you all. Thanks for the flowers, the executive board, and very much, and thanks for the lunches. They've been a joy, and I know we haven't been able to do it with everyone, but I'm having lunch at 11:45 tomorrow with MC at the Reef, so feel free to join us if you can make it then. But really, very fun. just a few things I want to mention. Meghan Markle, I don't know if anyone has seen her speech to the UN women. It's amazing. I almost suggested we click here tonight, but something to keep in mind. It's an amazing speech about making a difference as a woman. And it's remarkable. I just recommend it. Second, I was mentioning to Margaret Newhouse, who is in charge of the Entrepreneur Scholar Center, I was mentioning that I had lunch with you, Sarah, and she asked how I knew you, and I said through the Senate, and it turns out, I didn't know this, but she's a former president of the Senate, so somebody you might tap into at some point, too, who has a strong opinion about St. Benedict of the Senate. And finally, I have a canvas, so don't leave without seeing me. I have so many candles here. I'll be here till the meeting's end, so thank you, every time.
Are there any questions for Advisor Kleist? Vice President Weekly.
Not a question, but thank you so much for all of the uplifting words
You're
and
here.
the presence and everything you've given us this semester.
Oh, thanks you all. Thank you. Enjoy your time.
Are there any other questions for Advisor Kleist? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to letter C, Executive Board Report, Vice President Weekly.
Hello, ladies. The executive board met last night. We did just the usual. We talked about funding requests for today. We talked about Chairwoman Stote's her bonding event and kind of the logistics of that. Pizza with the president, and I gave a briefing about the new exec assistant hiring that's going on. We have so far 9 people who have applied, so I will be interviewing on Thursday and Friday, so we'll have a new exec board hopefully this June by Saturday morning. So you guys will all get to know her. We'll invite her to the retreat. We have to say that to her, unfortunately. And also we talked about the best ways to go about transitioning new senators and all that good stuff at the retreat. So that is all I have for return of time.
Are there any questions for Vice President Weekly? Seeing none, thank you very much. We're going to strike the co-funding board report. And Wendy was going to send me the budget update, but she did not. So we're going to strike that as well. So we'll move on to letter F, St. John Senate update. Senator Modeas.
Good evening, Senators. So last night, EMT came in and asked for 20 jackets worth $60 a piece, which totaled out to $1,200. We motioned to table. We wanted to look into further alternative resources of funding, such as life safety, and just want to kind of get more information in general. And then we allocated the $1,107 to XPD for the bus and transportation. And so an update on our budget. Our current budget number is $16,634.62. Should I do it one more time?
Yeah, we do it one more time.
Okay. Current budget is $16,634.62. And then one kind of little announcement. So as a part of the Student St. Joe Task Force, our goal has been creating more non-alcoholic social environments for students on campus. So this Saturday we will be sponsoring a dance in Rotary Club with campus DJs and potentially Harmony. And waffles will be served upstairs. So it'll be a fun, interesting event. And yeah, love to kind of have you guys there or promote it as best as you can. Outside of that, just take care of yourselves. Best of luck with finals and everything like that. I know it picks up. Happy birthday to my counterpart Libby. And happy holidays, and looking forward to 2018 with all of you. With that, I just want to know.
Are there any questions for Senator Modeas? Senator Flores.
What time is it?
It's 10 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Are there any other questions for Senator Modeas? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to letter G, open forum. Are there any senators wishing to address the Senate? Trustee Angarad.
Hello, ladies. I have the 3 Christmas cards on the top of your table. I have stamped it and it's finished, so it is your responsibilities to put your address on and mail them yourselves. I don't know. And I'm so sad that we have senators leaving for next semester, but I think it'll be a really, really good transition and talk to the person who will be taking your place. Like actually genuinely reach out and say, hey, how's it going? Or what has Senate been like? And offer some advice that you've learned at the table being here. It's so nerve-wracking to sit at the table, and it always is a transition for the first couple of times, especially being here, but actually like reach out and say what's going on. And for those of you who are studying abroad, it's really exciting, and I'm so sad that you're leaving, but have a really good time. I return my time.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mama. We're I just want to talk about, I met with Barb Novak recently. We had some scheduling issues. She's the academic dean. And I just wanted to kind of touch on, because I won't be here later, and Sarah will take over some of these things, obviously, but just kind of what we talked about was the two main goals she wants to come in and talk to Senate about are the new learning outcomes that the academic dean is working on. And they're kind of wordy, and she's kind of trying to work with Senate to make them more like mission statements for the college, make them more like you can see them on a billboard kind of thing. Right now there's a lot of jargon in them. And they also are looking to make an academic success center, which is really cool, and she will tell you all about that. But just, I invite you that when they come in to really have an open mind, because I think that what they're doing with the academics here at St. Ben St. John's is a really holistic and intentional approach to learning. And it's different than what, like, you know, an education student, what I've seen before in other institutions and things like that. It's a very much like the Academic Success Center would encompass like XPD and the Writing Center, and like career focused, as well as like how can you succeed as an academic student. So all the things that they're doing is very intentional, and I think it like is really representative of like a Benedictine, holistic, familial aspect of learning. I think it's really cool. So I invite you to, when they come in, to just like think about that, because I think that what they're doing is really intentional. And I'm going to miss you all so much. And have a great spring semester. I return my time.
Senator Robinson.
This is my update, it's not a goodbye, but Senator Flores and Senator Lynn and I met on Sunday, and we have pretty much been finalizing our WILD event, which is our version of the boys' SLE. We decided Women's Initiative for Leadership Development. So some of the topics that we're going to be working on from the information they got from their open forum is going to be different kind of leadership development, cultural competency, any kind of the holistic, as Senator Weber was just saying, to make sure that we don't just prepare them if they decide they want to run for Senate, but that they have the leadership development to go through any other leadership avenues on campus. So we want to make sure that they have all the opportunities, whether this is where they want to be or if they have another niche that they decide that they want to be a part of. Also, Richard Ice is going to come in the next meeting because he thought we had a meeting tomorrow and speak to us about the graduation goals and what the process is going to be. Vice President Weedley's already talked to me regarding that, so if anyone else would like to be part of that focus group, please let me know. And then lastly, we finalized our Women's Day speaker, or Women's Month speaker. It's going to be Sandra Kim. She is the journalist for Everyday Feminism, so I totally suggest you guys look at that. And she's going to talk about intersectionality in our everyday work lives.
Senator Greiger.
Hello everyone. This is like my applauded weekly thing. So things I've been doing recently, Senator Spalding, Senator Wynn, and President Seafridge and myself have been on the Joint Task Force for Community Relations in St. Joe. So hopefully you are aware of the door knocking that's taking place this Thursday and this Sunday. The sign-up sheet's been sent out a few times. We're really looking forward to that. We'll have little mini scripts for you tomorrow. We're working through our talking points. It'll be a joint effort, so 2 to 3 people per house. You'll have maps. There will be communication of which houses have already been spoken to. And we've also been in communication with Police Chief Klein about this entire event as well, in addition to speaking at the City Council meeting 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, just general co-funding board things. That's always a fun group to work with. Attended MAPSIS last Saturday, brought back some interesting initiatives that we can maybe see if the St. Ben Senate will take advantage of that other schools have done, as well as I have something for all of you after tonight's meeting. So
stick around. With that, Senator Spalding.
Strike.
Are there any other senators wishing to? Senator Flores.
Hi. So something that was in my role as first year rep is to do it's like words of wisdom for Wednesday, and I haven't been able to get that together, but I'm hoping to have something for this Wednesday just to launch everyone into finals. So if you guys have any like general advice about finals, I would love to like just send it to my email, and I'll type something up for everyone on the Facebook page just to encourage all first year students as they take their first finals here.
Are there any other senators wishing to address the Senate? Seeing Trustee Huckabee.
This is not Senate related, but Senator Greiger's birthday.
Happy birthday. Are there any other senators wishing to address the Senate? Seeing none, we'll move on to Roman numeral 4, new business. Letter A, motion to allocate $1,107.38 to pay for busing to the Minnesota Private Colleges Job and Internship Fair.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion by Senator Spalding and a second by Senator Nguyen. And the way that we'll do this is we'll still have debate on this, but we won't move to vote at the end essentially, so that we'll be able to vote when we do have a quorum present without having to go through all of this again. So Senator Spalding, your first speaking terms.
So I think that this is a great opportunity for the Senate to get their name out there. The internship fair is really important, not only for taking care of students, but also taking care of their future. I like that there's not gonna be a deposit, so there's no barrier for students to get on the bus and to go down. And hopefully, as he was talking with the $15, that it can be waived as well. The only thing I do have a little bit of an issue with is the numbers he presented as far as how many Bennies and Johnnies were riding the bus. So I'd love to hear any dissent.
The floor is now open for debate. Are there any senators wishing to debate this motion? Vice President Weekly.
Few points. I actually attended both of these events last year and they were absolutely wonderful. The internship fair got me 2 interviews and an internship that's going to very much so launch my career into other things. So very helpful, and I would highly encourage any of you who are looking into getting an internship or who need employment. It's a great opportunity. There are companies from everywhere from nonprofit to Target. So lots of companies, lots of opportunities. So I am in favor of funding this motion just because I think that it is very much so a reality that not everybody has a car able to get them down there, and I think that it's an opportunity that shouldn't be missed out on. Also, I do think that I agree with Senator Spalding. I think the numbers were off on the sheet. I know many more Bennies that took the bus last year, and I don't think that the numbers on the sheet reflected. Maybe that's something we could get from David at a later time or from the office themselves. Yeah, so with that, I return my time.
Senator Robinson.
I do agree with Senator Spalding's concerns about the numbers, so hopefully Chairman Pearson can come back. I am worried though that this seems like it's more of an XPD initiative than a single student initiative, for the fact that XPD isn't going to be putting so much or any money into it. Just want to hear if anyone has any other concerns or clarifications regarding that.
Trustee Andrak.
I think that is a concern, but I mean, it's jobs and internships. I think that is so important, and as a senior, I mean, you guys, it's a really, really, really harsh world out there when it comes to finding a job. Just being really realistic, it's very hard to get jobs and internships, and there should be no barriers when it comes to this. Perhaps if it was an event that was going out in the cities and that was like a lot more less official than this, I would be like, oh, well, maybe. But when it comes to serious stuff after college, I understand there's some dissent, but it is so we can put Bennies in the workforce after graduation, so they can get a job, and so they can get internships, so they can learn how to network. I think this is so vital. And I mean, when we came to St. Ben's and St. John's, we knew it was in the middle of nowhere. And we need to get students out into the cities. Like, this is why Senate is here. I return my time. And, yeah, I return my time.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate this motion? Vice President Weekly.
I am we don't have quorum, so I'm trying to keep discussion going because I think that this is something that we should vote on. Yeah. Senator Weir fell asleep on accident, so she said she was coming. Oh, no.
She's not gonna.
I return my time.
Yeah, Rep. Webster. Senator Simonette.
I agree fully with Trustee Umbra. My only thing is, the next PD office, would they have these funds? I guess, so it's like, they don't have any funds for it, or, because it's not a department, it's an office, so don't they have a certain budget as other offices? I yield my time.
So I'm very nosy, and I had a discussion with the director of XPD because I'm very nosy, and she told me that the office hasn't had an increase in the last 3 years in their budget, and I thought that I was like, it's something that your office should take, and so I kind of work in that office sometimes, but essentially she told me that there's no room in the budget, and that she's sorry.
Then I'm in full support of this motion. We do really need to have Benny's get out there and to have the Benny network, Benny Johnny network.
You're here.
Yeah. I return my time.
Here, Rep. Webster.
Motion to table.
Second.
There's been a motion by Pierre Rep. Webster and a second by Senator Pelkey.
We have discussion on the motion.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, moving on to Roman numeral 5, announcements. Letter A, the next meeting of the St. Ben Senate will be on Wednesday, January 24th at 5 p.m. Roman numeral 6, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. There's been a motion by Senator Robinson and a second by Trustee Angara. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.